and welcome to this webinar today. Kia ora, bulavinaka. Talo valava, hello, bonjour, kia orana. Hello, Olkata, and a warm welcome to this Business Link Pacific webinar. This webinar our topic is tips to help you streamline the BLP subsidy process. Thank you for joining us from wherever you're located, and we will be joined by two guests who will be speaking mainly on our topic today. I am Velenie, business advisor as well with Business Link Pacific, and I will be your host today. If you've been joining previous webinars, we've had Barbara, who was the host for the previous webinars. Today is my first time hosting BLP webinar. And yeah, we will be joined by our two guests, Nancy Matapuku and Krishan Sharma. I will be introducing them as we go along our slides. So what we're covering today, we will cover topics, advisor resources and assistance, and we will also go through how subsidies work, and we will hear from our guests the tips and experiences that they had to streamline subsidies in their practices, and we could all learn from what our two guests will be speaking on today. So before we get started, there's just a few general housekeeping rules. If you could please turn off your microphone and camera for the presentation part of the webinar, as it helps to ensure a good connection. Please feel free to ask questions throughout the webinar in the chat box located in the top right-hand corner of your screen. There will also be opportunities to voice your questions as well as post them. And we will have this webinar recorded, and it will be part of the resources for with all the other webinars we've had in the portal, in our Business Link Pacific portal. All right, just an introduction to Business Link Pacific for those of you who may have just recently joined the BLP webinar, either as a business advisor or a growing SME, or even if you've been with us for a while, here's a quick refresher of what BLP is all about. So BLP is a funded, New Zealand-funded initiation for the private sector. It's a development initiative for the private sector, and it's delivered by DT Global. We currently work with 12 countries. That's Cook Islands, Fiji, Kiribati, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga and Vanuatu, Nauru, Niue, Tokelau, and Tuvalu. We work in partnership with Chamber of Commerce and financial institutions and private sector to develop a business advisory service provider network in the Pacific region that improves access of business services to growing MSMEs. Since 2018, as you can see on the screen, we've had an amazing amount of 5,993 completed business health checks. We've had 220 business advisory approved for for providing service to SMEs. We've also recorded 1,109 new jobs, of which 42% are filled by women. So here's just a little bit of statistics of what Business Link Pacific has achieved so far since 2018. So these are the main services provided by SMEs and BLP advisors. BLP as in-country representative in each of our countries. Our business service managers are locally based, and their role is to help both SMEs and business advisors to access and make full use of the suite of BLP services.
Sorry, Velenie, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say that the presentation looks very small. If you can put it on show mode so that we can see the
sorry.
No worries. It's been an adventure, this first webinar of yours, so we really appreciate it. That's awesome. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much, and I'm sorry for the interruption.
Thank you, Sandra. It's helpful. So BLP service include online diagnostic tools, including the Business Health Check and Business Continuity Planner, Finance Finder, which helps SMEs to access finance and climate action sensor, as well as our grant. BLP also helps with concessionary lending and has developed partnerships with the key financial institutions across the Pacific. BLP also helps SMEs find suitable local advisors to help them with their business issues. Business do better when they have access to professional advice. Then we help them with the cost of those advisors through our subsidy scheme. Advisors go through quality assurance process to become part of the BLP network. There is a professional development and learning opportunities for us advisors as well. Having said all this, let me now introduce you to our guest of our webinar today. We have Nancy, Nancy Matapuku is a business advisor joining us from the Cook Islands. Nancy is the Director of Accounting Made Easy in the Cook Islands. She has over 15 years of experience working in both the private and public sectors as a financial accountant, providing support to SMEs in accounting, project management, and taxation. Nancy is also Board of Director on the Airport Authority, Cook Islands, and a member of a Public Expenditure Review Committee. Thank you, Nancy, for joining us today. Our other guest is Krishan Sharma. Krishan is the Director of Pacifica Smart Business Advisory in Fiji. He's also one of our approved business advisor, Business Link Pacific Gold Advisor, a registered tax agent, and chartered accountant. Krishan is also a certified Zero advisor and a member of Zero Partner Advisory Council, XPAC, contributing to the future direction of cloud accounting solutions. In addition to his advisory work, Krishan teaches accounting and technology systems as a TAFE teacher, which he shares his industry knowledge and practice experience with the next generation of accountants.
Thank you, Velenie.
Thank you, Nancy and Krishan, for joining us today. So in this first topic, we will talk just generally about some of the tools and assistance available to our BLP advisors. So the Business Link Pacific gives advisors a reputable online presence and showcases advisor services by service area and country. BLP also runs online campaigns to promote the business advisors using tools such as Google AdWords and social media. The BLP Quality Assurance Assessment processes identifies professional development needs for the business advisors and provides the tools needed to service the SME sector, placing business advisors in the path to become BLP approved partner or extending their approved competencies. Online tools to support the understanding of potential SMEs clients' needs, and a referral service that connects past to potential SMEs clients in the country, and ability to offer subsidized services. In-country networking events help connect you with a way to showcase your services and network with clients and other business advisors. So as we delve into topic 2, this is when we will learn more about how Krishan and Nancy, how they streamline their processes of offering their services to SMEs and MSMEs clients. So as you can see in the screen, these are the steps of, I'm sure most of us who are business advisors are familiar with the steps that are on the screen. You will have to go through a business evaluation and a referral to BLP, submit a subsidy application, and then by way of submitting application, we wait for the approvals, and when the approvals come in, and then when it's approved, then we start to implement, and then completion of it, subsidy payment, and the report is done. Yeah. So with this process, for those who are new to advisory service, these are some of the processes that we all go through as business advisors to get approval before we start working with MSMEs or SMEs. So I'd like to invite Nancy to speak on how she will. I'll give the floor to Nancy, and she will speak on her experiences and how she comes to work with the process. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Velenie, and thank you very much for persevering with us in our technology issues. But we're back and we're ready to share all our tips. So as introduced, my name is Nancy Matapuku, and I've been a financial accountant here in Rarotonga for over 16 years. So we've built our own business called Accounting Made Easy, and it was really built on a passion for people. Obviously, finances is a big part of not only economies, but people's lives. So as an accountant, I've been really passionate about taking a personal interest with my clients, and that's really lent itself towards the BLP program. So I'll just get right into it. So Velenie, could you perhaps share my first screen? So becoming a BLP advisor, this might be straightforward. However, if you're anything like myself, I always forget my passwords or my credentials. So the first things first is make sure you've got your correct BLP login credentials. Once you're in, you have to actually make sure that you have the apply for subsidies button, which is on the top left-hand side of your screen. Often this particular function might be missing. So you do have to contact BLP and ask them to put that particular link on your login. So as you get into this process, you'll notice that one important or crucial step is that you do have to send your application to the client. And I know both Krishan and I will can't emphasize this part enough. Can't emphasize this part enough about ensuring that the customer or the client accepts the subsidy application. And this is kind of a critical part of your application, actually, because for my personal taste and the way I like to deal with my customers is face-to-face. That might not be possible all the time. However, in an initial meeting, you just want to perhaps set up or have your laptop ready, have this email page open, send them the email straight away. At that point, if they have their telephone, which most people do have their mobile phones, or even their laptops, ask them to log into their email and guide them through pushing that accept button. I know it seems a little bit tedious at this point, but it really is quite critical, because you can't really move forward with the application unless they accept this particular email. So that's just basically the administrative side of things. I know I've dived straight into the application, but perhaps it might be a good thing considering we perhaps a bit short on time. But thank you, Velenie. I'll jump to the next slide. So these are some of my clients, and just to give you some background information, our particular business has approved 35 applications with Business Link Pacific. You can see on the top right hand corner, it was something as small as a papa is what we call them. He has his own tractor business, and he's been running his business for the last 30 years. But unfortunately, he hadn't been up to date with his filing with taxes for, let's say, 10 years. So as an accountant, you would think, okay, 10 years of outstanding tax work, that can be quite a burden on not only our customer, but also on the potential quote of fees for accounting, the accounting bill. So this is where Business Link Pacific really does fill that space for small business owners who, and you perhaps in your line of work, have urgent services that need to be done, could be time critical. They may have, in some instances, in dire circumstances, perhaps their mortgage is on the line with regards to their businesses. So there's a lot of people that do need help with professional services, but can't quite afford to pay for the full fees. So how I like to do it is I like to have a one-on-one meeting with them. We sit down and I basically ask them some questions. The beauty of it is if these are already existing customers of yours, you would already have information relating to 1 right through to perhaps number 6 on my small checklist here. So it would be just filling in a few of the missing gaps, such as their tax number, how many years have they been operating, and perhaps just a small description of their business. So this is just a small checklist that I've put together that you could perhaps have a cup of coffee with your customer or your client. I have that privilege because of the nature of work I do as accounting. However, if you're a plumber or an electrician or any other services that as an advisory service under the Business Link Pacific, it might just take a simple 5 to 10 minute conversation with them. So while you're discussing the scope of work that they would like to have done, you can also just ask them some of these questions here. And the reason for this is because from this information is what builds your application for the subsidy. I can't also emphasize enough that as professionals, we also do have our fees and our quotes that we submit to our customers. And normally I don't know what it's like in other Pacific Islanders, but sometimes our people like to pay part payment or over a period of 2 years. I think one offered me their television in lieu of like their first deposit. So I'm sure in some countries it can be a bit hard, and sometimes our debtors can kind of creep up. So Business Link Pacific is really a great way to not only support yourself as a professional offering quality services to our people, but it's also a way that can help our customers take the burden of having to pay the full 100% of our quotes. And I like to also put that to them after I quote them a cost of my service. I say, listen, I am a registered BLP advisor, and what this can offer you is 50% off this quote. If you're happy with that, I would love to move forward with you. And if they say, oh, yes, that sounds wonderful, 50% subsidy or discount off the quoted cost. At that point, I'm like, wonderful. I just have a few questions that if we could perhaps just do that together now, I could get that underway for you. So that initial client meeting, in my experience, has been very important as well. So once you get this information, head back to your apply for subsidies page and put all those bits of information into the subsidy. There will be a section that covers more about the impacts on climate change or the impacts on growth. Persevere is all I'm going to say. It can be quite a lengthy process, as Krishan will highlight. However, he's got some brilliant tips on how he's navigated that. In my experience, an extra 10-15 minutes in the application. Just make sure you have a strong coffee and process the application. So once you submit that application, then you know it's on its way to be approved with the committee at BLP. So another hurdle, and perhaps my final slide, please, Velenie, is basically just keeping organized on your computer. As I mentioned, we did 35 approved applications with BusinessLink Pacific, and it's just been a real lifesaver for a lot of our businesses here. As I mentioned, in my line of work, the scope of the services we've had to provide through COVID has also been very large. We've had applications from as small as $1,500 to one of my larger projects at over, I think it was $12,000. So that just gives you a range of my SMEs and how out of 35 of them, all of them are within that range between $1,000 and $10,000 subsidy approved contracts. So my final tip is just to stay organized on your computer. When you have got a lot of approved contracts working side by side, I like to keep on my desktop, the main folder is BLP. Within that is a subfolder called your individual contracts. For example, BLP contract reference number, ABC Limited. Within that subfolder will be 3 more subfolders, BLP documents, which, as you'll see in the following, what that includes, you've got your deliverable 1 and deliverable 2. So inside deliverable 1, you will, for example, in my line of work, it may have been producing 5 years of financial statements. So I want to have a scanned copy of the 5 years of financial documents inside deliverable 1. Deliverable 2 might have been processing PAYE for those 5 years. So I want to make sure that I have 5 years of PAYE documents inside deliverable 2. So this is where it gets, the documents become a lot. However, organization is just key here. So just in the last subfolder of BLP documents, you want to make sure that you've got the signed BLP contract, the client's deposit of 50%. This can be a screenshot of your bank statement, and just redact all the other unnecessary information, and the invoice to DT Global for the balance of 50%. And also what is also critical is the email confirmation from the client once all is said and done, saying, thank you, we appreciate the work, we're satisfied with this, and that's it. Once you get a copy of that, you want to zip folder all of these documents and send that back to the BLP and say, thank you, we've completed this client. Please check for your approval and also hereby find the invoice for our balance. So those are just some of the tips that I've found very helpful. I know there's a lot in that, so if you do have any questions, I'm happy to take them. But for now, I'll hand it back to Velenie.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for sharing your, giving us your tips and sharing your experience. I just have one question in relation to, I mean, looking at it, it's a whole lot of work you're putting into this. Can I just ask if you have staff to help you, or are you doing this on your? I understand some of the business advisors, some may have been operating in firms, and some have, you know, just individuals providing services. I want to hear it from your side. Are you doing this on your own, or do you have staff that help you do this?
Brilliant question. Thank you, Velenie. For me personally, I have 2 interns that work with me that can help with mostly the deliverables. However, I do understand that as a plumber or electrician, or you might not be so strong in the area of admin and folder organization. So it does help if you do have a second or some admin assistants in the office that perhaps could help you with the filing, and also perhaps even with the sit down initial meeting. That person can help take some notes and also fill out the subsidy application for you, while you yourself focus on what you're good at, which is delivering that service. So that's a very good question, Velenie, and I appreciate that a lot of businesses might not be strong in these areas, but it would help if you had an admin person or someone to assist.
Thank you, Nancy. I know a lot of others who have questions to ask, but I'm going to be giving this time to Krishan to present his presentation. Thank you, Nancy. This has been very insightful, and I'm sure others will have questions, and we'll come back to our Q&A sessions later. But I'm giving this time to Krishan. Thank you so much, Nancy, for this. You've been such a great presenter in this one. Thank you. I'll hand it over to Krishan. Thank you, Krishan.
Hi guys, can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. I had some issues as well. Bula everyone. Thank you, Nancy, for such a good presentation. I think you've covered a lot in terms of the process, how it runs. So mine will be very straightforward in terms of presentation. I'll be talking today about issues faced by advisors, how we're streamlining the process at our firm. Streamlining the processes, and then our process, what we use internally. So the first thing, a lot of people complain, this is the issues I also had from my advisor friends locally, that the process is very lengthy in terms of by the time you initially meet the client, by the time your appointments get approved, it can, you don't have an actual time limit. It can be quicker if your client is very responsive, but then if they don't have the records on time, they bring one piece of information at a time, and you constantly keep chasing it, it can be a lengthy process. So the subsidy application requires multiple steps and a lot of paperwork. From initial client meetings to receiving fund, the process can take weeks or even months, right? Second thing is, sorry, I've got a few more points. So cost versus benefit. So this is where a lot of advisors are very hesitant to provide services, because is it worth it, our time, to get the subsidy in terms of the application and what we're charging to the client? Actually, the main whole intention here is to help your clients, not to make money. Yeah, obviously we are a firm, we need to get compensated for the work we've done. But remember, if a little help comes from your end, and in future that client can change into from micro to small to medium, and that's when you see your real gain in terms of the fees as well. The very important thing, especially are based in very regional town in Ba, and a lot of clients are from internal areas. So with the suburban clients, that's fine, but especially with the clients who live very rural, we have issues with the technology. What I'm trying to say, a lot of clients, especially the in terms of like roadside stall holders, they don't even have a proper smartphone. So they all use a very minimal system. So when they come in the office, they don't have email access. They don't have even proper records. So in terms of creating an email and all that and helping them out, it can be very time consuming. And the most important thing is also, the next point is a lack of records. So when a client comes in, and so this is the whole intentions when it's a new client, right? So when a new client comes in, like they previously, they probably haven't been to accountant before, or they're very new in the business, they know what's happening, or they just must hear something from other people, or there's something called BLP, which is giving subsidy in accounting, or to help this, not just in accounting, but there's other areas as well. So when they come and approach you, you find they don't even have records. If they bring a records, the receipts are faded or destroyed. And the next thing is very important. What we faced is, most of the business, not most, like some of the business, they're not even registered business. They started a business, they think it's a business, but technically it's not registered. So when they come on board, you've got to register them, get them a business name, because a lot of our businesses are, especially I'm talking in perspective of macro businesses, they are registered as a sole trader, but they don't have a business name. And sometimes we get knocked off because they don't have a business name, not registered with, especially in Fiji, it's through register of companies. They don't have a business name with the register of companies. For example, I'm trading as a Christian Sharma, and my business is Christian Sharma. I don't have a trading name as Christian's Grocery Store or something like that, for example. And finally, the deadline and approvals. Sometimes, yes, we know this application with BLP is working, but on the same time, we have other deadlines. For example, deadlines with FRCS or any other government agency. So we probably have to put this work on hold, and like, not sure we're going to get paid for it or not, but then work on the deadlines too, so that clients are not penalized. So going to the next set of topic, so streamlining the process, very straightforward. It's very important to understand the client's business thoroughly before proceeding with the subsidy application. This saves rework and ensure accuracy. Let's say at the initial meeting, so we have something called pre-meeting communication. So we send the checklist to the client. If the client has not a smartphone, it's via SMS. If they have email, through email, or we can give them a call and explain what we need. And also, when the records comes to the office, it's always good to scan all the information and save into the permanent folder, and permanent documents as well, such as in letter, FNPF details, their IDs, and should be secured in the should be stored in the secured folder where for future use, and which cannot be accessed by other people other than the staff team members. And now our process. So what we do at Pacifica Smart Business Advisory, how do we start it? How do we do the applications? And this is always, this can apply to all the new advisors. So first thing is first, leverage existing client. So if you haven't done a process and a new client approach and you don't know the idea, first do the trial or on your clients first, because it's easier. You've got all the informations for them, the financials, you understand their business. So it's easier to process subsidy for existing clients since most of the records are ready available. Initial meeting is very important with the client, especially with new clients, gathering as much as information as possible during the first session. Run through a checklist to avoid repeated follow-ups. And then engagement. So once the client agrees with your services and they're happy to move forward with you, let's say you explain the scope of the work, what's needed, you have given the price, and it's now time to sign the engagement letter. So if they have signed the engagement proposal, also, I would suggest to get a letter of authority for them, which allows you as an advisor to get a lot of information from the source rather than client. Let's say if the client doesn't have a FNPF registration documents, and if you have the letter of authority and it's approved by FNPF, you can take it and get the information directly rather than chasing the clients. These little things can make big difference, or else the client has to catch a bus, or if they have car to town, go to the FNPF office, get the letter clearance, and then pass it on to you. So there's a lot of things with letter of authority you can act on behalf of the client. Digital support. If the client doesn't have access to email, you can help them to maintain email, ensuring they receive important updates in future. And let's say, even if they don't have, you can print it on a letterhead, post it to them. And another thing is referral system. So let's say if there's something which, as an advisor, you don't have in-house, you can't provide. For example, if some business wants a website, but you're registered as a financial advisor. So in that situation, what we do is we refer them to other advisors who we know does a good job. Also, there's an option on the website to find the advisors in the certain service area. And to conclude, I would say focus existing client when applying for subsidies first, because that's where with new advisors can get a lot of experience with, because they understand their client workflow will be fast. Always use a checklist. Always use a checklist to prepare clients and reduce delay. And also, if you have team members, train your team members how to get the information, initial meetings, so you are not involved in chasing the client information, so your team can handle and you can concentrate on the core applications. And by adopting this practice, you can save a lot of time, reduce frustration, and provide better outcomes for both advisors and clients. And thank you. That's my presentation. And if you guys have any question, I've seen one question coming in the chat. Please put it in the chat. So Neil has asked, letter of authority is not easily accepted and used to be sometimes, so dependent on the organization you're dealing. Yeah, I agree. Depends which organization you're dealing with. So every organization may have their own template or specific wordings, Neil, but some places they are accepted depending on. If not, then you probably take them with you if they can't. If the client can't explain what information they need, maybe it's, for example, if you need a certain period of the bank statement and they don't have access, just walk into the bank with the client. Thank you, Neil. Anyone else has any questions, can put it in the chat box. That's it from me. Back to Velenie.
Thank you so much, Krishan, for sharing your experience and the issues you face, the streamlining process, and your processes. Can I ask, how many subsidies how many clients have you assisted so far through the BLP subsidy?
You wouldn't believe, I just looked in check. It's over 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's massive.
But that's over 3 years.
That's over 3 years.
Initial registration was in 2023.
Right. Great. Well, thank you for this. We have a question from Neil. There's a question. There's a part of earlier presentation where the voice was coming in cut on. Got it, BLP documents. Oh, sorry, Neil. Oh, Neil, are you referring to the presentations by the from the speakers?
Yes, I believe that might have been my slide, Velenie.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's perfectly fine. Happy to answer that, Neil. So when you have your project or your scope of work that you intend to deliver for the customer, This can be one thing that you will do for them, or it could be two things. It could be 3, 4, or 5 deliverables or outputs that you will do for the customer. So for me personally, I like to keep these deliverables separate, because in the subsidy contract with BLP, when you put the deliverable or the output, you also put the amount that you will be charging, and then the percentage in which you would like it to be subsidized. So similar to the contract, I like to keep my filing methods as per the outputs. So I'd love to help customize that for you. Are you also an accountant, or what's your line of business? Actual documents with client information. Yes, actually, this definitely, these actual documents with client information. Yes, it is. Because in my line of work anyway, with the accounting, we do have to provide specific details such as the tax numbers, financial statements, or any projections we've done for them. Oh, perfect. Yes. So yeah, you would. And in the contract or the subsidy, it's very, very critical with confidentiality. So anything that gets released to a third party, in this case, Business Link Pacific, everything is kept private, confidential, and it's very strict on that. So it's all in your contract, and there are clauses that protect yourself and also the customer or the client. So it may be something you may want to just share with your client at the start and just say, as part of the contract, we will be sending just confirmation of your filings and perhaps a copy of the financial work that you've done as part of the whole contract to BLP, just for disclosure and to be open and transparent with your customer at the start. I hope that answered your questions.
Neil has another question. How does BLP provide assurance for these processes? Are these processes and assurance provided to us? I think is Sandra. Are you in the meeting? Hey Neil, this will have to be answered by Sandra or Angela, but they're not in the meeting. I don't think they're in this webinar. Oh, Nancy, do you see
Yes.
Neil's question?
Yes, absolutely.
Neil, can I answer it?
Yeah,
sure. Neil, just for the information, Business Link Pacific is backed by DT Global, which is a very big organization, and I guess every organization would have their cyber policies in place in terms of, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say this or not, but they should be backed by their internal cyber policies. So my understanding would be here that you're dealing with a very big organization, and it's New Zealand based.
Thank you, Krishan. All right, we're in our open discussion questions. If there's anyone else that has any question, please drop it in the chat box. So as we're in discussion of the streamlining process, I understand from what we're discussing, there's a process on how you as a business advisor have access to clients through BLP portal. Is there a way where you get clients directly and then refer them? Can you tell me a bit about that on your experience, both of you? How, if a client approaches you directly and not through BLP? How would you, is it sometimes they get turned down, or is it all, just tell me a little bit of your experience in that aspect.
Yep, excellent question, Velenie. I'm not sure with Krishan, but for our small business, anybody and everybody that needs help, if they are, as Krishan mentioned, if they've got some sort of business registration or if they've got a tax number, absolutely, I'll try and put them through the process. But as you can appreciate, it is a process, and there are quite a number of things that you just have to tick off. So if you have that, patience and that perseverance, it's absolutely possible to put them all through and just let BLP decide whether they can be approved or not. But in our experience, most have been approved, given that they are actually have been operating for at least 2 to 3 years.
Yep, thanks, Nancy. And so if the client approaches it directly, what does, through the experience we run after running the diagnostics, I think we know if the client will be approved or not, but then there's no harm in trying.
Thank you. Thank you both for your answers. I'm asking this because it also relates to businesses in Vanuatu as well. We've had clients who may be coming in and directly to us, and yeah, thanks for sharing that experience. We have a question in the chat box from Ratu. What do you do if the client cannot pay their 50% or part of their subsidy and you have completed the deliverables? Progress payments may not be the ideal approach, as BLP will only pay the final invoice if the client settles the full amount. Will BLP in the future be able to recognize any partial payment agreement between the PASP and the client? Do you ever come across this scenario?
We haven't ever came across this scenario. Always the client has paid, then that's the only time we lodge it with the, but there's something we can always cross-check with BLP.
Actually, I have had this experience a number of times, and it's really delayed me also being able to put in my 50% invoice to BLP. So, you can follow up with the client time and again. But I do appreciate this question, Datu. Perhaps that is a question for BLP and the administration there, because it is worthwhile to consider, in my opinion.
Thank you, Nancy. There's another question from Emmanuel. In the initial contact meeting with the client, is there an accreditation note from BLP to verify an advisor's involvement in the client? I believe yes. There's always in the initial contact, BLP will be the one approving, so they will be the one sending a message back to the client. If Krishan, can you confirm that?
So I'm just trying to understand the question. Sorry, in initial contact with the client is the accreditation note from BLP to verify. So what do you mean? Will, like, sorry, just to get the question right, are you trying to say that is approved BLP advisor?
The way Emmanuel, can you rephrase your question? But the way I'm understanding the question is that because BLP has this pool of advisors that they connect with clients. So yes, BLP will have to connect you with a client and has to have that message back to the client that they've connected you with an advisor to help you with whatever needs your business needs. Is that Does that answer your question, Emmanuel? Or is that the way you're addressing the question?
Yeah, and I'm also thinking, in line with Krishna and Velenie's answer there, even though there's an automated process where you email and BLP then connects with the client, I'm thinking that at the initial meeting, that do you have like a certificate or some sort of note that you can show the client that you are a registered and verified advisor? At the moment, no, I don't have. I just perhaps go online, share the link, and they can see that I'm on the website as an approved advisor. But I do appreciate that question, because sometimes people like to see the physical certificate or a physical paperwork to show that you are.
If you are a gold advisor, BLP actually sends you a nice certificate.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I've got that. If that's the question, yes. So I mean, yeah.
Good question, Emmanuel, because now I want to get what Christian has, a gold certificate.
Thank you for that. I'm also learning this as well. Thank you, Christian.
Yeah.
So if I may ask, continuing from that question Emmanuel just asked, how do you, if anyone who's listening wants to get the gold advisor, how do you get that?
I think there's one, when you do initial application, there's 3 steps. There's one initial about yourself, and the second one is the advisor competency. And I think there's a third one underneath that, which needs like more detailed advisory answers. So you have to do one more set of modules, so to become the gold advisor.
Great. Very insightful. Thank you, Krishan.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you both for sharing such insightful presentation today. And yeah, Emmanuel said she understood. Thank you. Thank you so much. Victor, we will have to deal with that with Barbara. Okay, so if there's no one else asking any questions, thank you so much, both of you, for joining, and thank you everyone for
thanks everyone
being in this webinar, and it has been very insightful, and I'm sure we will have more of this in the future. This webinar will be recorded and posted for anyone later on to come and view it and learn from these things. Thank you everyone again, and thank you again to our 2 guests for sharing their experiences and taking this time. Thanks again, and Vinaka everyone, thank you Thomas, everyone, and catch you again some other time.